everybody, welcome to episode 65 of the PMD Tea Buyers Club. I'm your host, Dan De Silva. I'm back in my kitchen. It is Thursday, the day before Good Friday of 2020, and everyone is spending Easter in lockdown. This is not how I was expecting to spend my Easter. Usually for me, I go to Sri Lanka in January, and then I'm back here in the UK sort of early Feb, and then I work all the way through from Feb into March, all the way up to Easter. And this Easter week, when we get to Thursday, especially for us here in the UK, it's a busy, busy week. We're doing last minute dispatches out to all the hotels because usually they're booked. They're booked up with afternoon tea for all the way through the long weekend. So they need teas, and usually we would be very busy. Of course, this year we haven't been busy anywhere because every hotel virtually globally is shut. But we have been busy on the website. So thank you so much to everyone who has come onto the website, and it's actually a web customer who's actually inspired today's PMD Tea Buyers Club. Now, as many of you know, and as I've done on the show before, we have talked about New Vithanakande tea estate. Now, New Vithanakande is one of my personal favorite tea estates. I mean, I absolutely love this tea. It's a low-grown Ceylon tea. It grows at about 2,000 feet in Sub-Rogamura province. It's south of Ratnapura, so if you ever look at the map of Sri Lanka and you look at the city of Ratnapura, New Vithanakande is south of that. You come south of Karawita, and then New Vithanakande is south of that estate. I first went to New Vithanakande, I think it was about 2013 or 14, I can't even remember, but I met Mr. Pillapidi, who was the owner of New Vithanakande, who sadly passed away at the back end of last year. And I was recently over in New Vithanakande in January. I took a client of ours over there to see the estate. It's one of my personal favorites. And then this time, we actually went over and we went and saw a property very close to it, which makes wonderful tea. And I was so glad that I was finally able to see this estate. I've tasted their teas. I've really been a big fan of their teas, but it was wonderful to finally go and see the property myself. And that is Ceciliyan. Now, I had a plan of bringing Ceciliyan Orange Pekoe 1 onto our PMD website. Now, usually we do a big shipment in March, and of course, because of COVID, our shipment got held up, which is why also there's so many teas that are currently out of stock on the website. So this is due to COVID. And one of the teas we're going to bring up was this, Ceciliyan. Now, the reason why I thought I'd do this episode was because recently we had a customer write into us and say, look, he's really desperate to get some New Vithanakande tea, and I said to him, I don't have our usual FF Extra Special, which stands for Flowery Fannings Extra Special. It's a tippy tea. It's a premium grade tippy tea from New Vithanakande. I said I don't have that, but I have got a small amount of Orange Pekoe 1 that I was given when I was at the estate, and if he's really desperate in these desperate times, I don't mind sharing this tea with him. He decided to take this tea, and it got me thinking about what we were going to do with Ceciliyan. So I thought I'd do a head-to-head of two of the low-growns bad boys. You know, when I mean bad boys, these are some very bad teas, and I mean bad in a good way, not bad as they're bad in cup. These are some very, very good teas, and you know, two of my favorite teas. So I'll start off with what the leaf is. Both these leaves, the grades are exactly the same, so it's a good head-to-head. Both grades of tea are Orange Pekoe 1. I'm on my right-hand side, I've got Ceciliyan, and on my left-hand side, I've got New Vithanakande. And how does the leaf look? Well, if you look at the Ceciliyan leaf, it's a very nice leaf. It has density to it, well twisted. It's nice and black. It doesn't have a greyish sheen to it. On the other side, New Vithanakande, again, same thing. Well twisted leaf, black, doesn't have greyness to it. Has a nice hand feel to it as well. You know, if we were to smell these, let me start off with the Ceciliyan. If we were to smell these, how do they smell? Well, very fresh tea. You get a sweetness coming out of this tea, a natural sweetness that comes off the turnout. If you smell this New Vithanakande, and bear in mind, then they're not too far from each other. Both factories are virtually, if you're driving from New Vithanakande back to Colombo, you will pass Ceciliyan Tea Factory. You will pass it. They're virtually a stone's throw. They're probably about a half an hour drive. Depends on what the speed is and what's what the traffic conditions are like, but they're virtually around the corner from each other. Again, you get a bit of a sweetness coming out of this tea too. Very nice leaves, both of them. Very impressed. Very well rolled. And part of that comes down, a large part of this comes down to the type of leaf that both these estates use. Now, both these estates have a small acreage of tea for themselves, and they use what we call in the Low Country the bought leaf method. Now, this is where small growers who own anywhere between half an acre up to 2-3 acres of land will farm their tea, and they will sell that to a private tea factory, and that's exactly what these two are. Unlike some of the upcountry teas that we talk about on some of the other episodes, where the factory and the entire acreage is owned by that particular entity, the low-grown model in Sri Lanka is very different. This was something that came about later after the upcountry estates, and this worked with small individual holders who factory owners would buy their tea from. Today, low-grown tea produces the bulk of Ceylon tea, and its main markets from Sabaragamuwa and also from Ruhuna, which make up the low-grown, is actually into the Middle East market. So if you're buying tea in Iraq, in Iran, anywhere through the Middle East, and you think of Ceylon tea, you will be buying tea from the low-grown sector. It'll not be those light flavoury teas that you get from upcountry. And when you go to the southern tea factories, one thing that you see as a big stark difference between the upcountry teas is the level of investment that they have ploughed back into their businesses. And you know, the factories look fantastic, the level of technology they use in there is fantastic. And also one big thing that I see when you go to low-grown factories, especially at these two, is the passion that people have. You know, they're very, very passionate about what they're doing. And subsequently, this is why a lot of low-grown factories are making quality tea. Not to say that a lot of upcountry factories aren't, but there's just something different with a low-grown factory right now. And partly, I believe, in my personal opinion, is that it's because of the investment that they've driven back into their businesses. Also, the other reason is that both of these tea factories are family-owned. They're family-owned, and they own the entity, and they're ploughing back the resources into their business. Unlike with the upcountry model, where it's owned by, well, the land is owned by the government, they've been leased out to management companies, and management companies are taking, you know, management fees off these properties. So there's not as much to plough back into the business. In saying that, there's some very good management companies. Now, let's get into tasting these teas. If we have a look at both the leaves, I'm very impressed with both of them. When you look at a black tea leaf, the infusion, you want it to be bright, you want it to have a coppery hue to it. Both of these teas have that. If you look over, both teas have a nice copperiness to it. They look bright. I'm going to have a smell. I'm going to start off with the Ceciliyan. The nose on this thing is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for this COVID to be lifted and for us to be able to start moving stock over. It smells syrupy, almost like golden syrup, this thing. A smack of blueberry in there, a bit of blackcurrant, a very fruity, very sweet tea. Beautiful leaf, beautiful infusion even. Very bright, very coppery. On the other side, New Vithanakande. Again, very sweet. This tea has the typical New Vithanakande that I've spoken about on other episodes. It's very sweet, it's very caramelly. Bit of blackcurrant, bit of raspberry. This is one of my favorites. This will be a little different to what you get with our FF Extra Special. The FF Extra Special has that tip content, which actually makes the cup a little bit lighter. This is an Orange Pekoe 1, so it won't be as light as what you get from the FF. Why do these leaves, dry, infusion, even the cup color, why do they look so good? Part of the reason is down to the meticulous detail that both estates carry out. When they're getting their leaf, they are very meticulous about what their leaf producers supply them. And when it comes to buying leaf, I've seen this in New Vithanakande myself, and I saw this at Ceciliyan again. They're so particular about how the quality of the leaf is. And by quality of leaf, we mean 2 leaves in a bud. And even down to the withering trough, they have got the name of who the leaf supplier is. Now, when I was recently in New Vithanakande, the one name that stood out to me was Mr. Premachandra, and they write down what was the quality of his leaf, what was the good percentage, what was the bad percentage, and they'll send feedback to each leaf supplier to see if they have sent bad leaf in, how do they improve it, you know? So leaf is so important, and you know, having good leaf means that you can make good tea, obviously. So let's have a look at both cup colors. Very similar, beautiful reddish hue to them. They're bright. Ceciliyan has a nice yellow, has a nice golden rim to it. Vithanakande does, but not as much as the Ceciliyan, in all fairness. Let's have a taste. If we try the Ceciliyan here. That's a very nice tea. You get this golden syrup flavour coming from it. It really does coat your palate. It's a very thick tea. Well, I wouldn't say it's thick. It's not your typical thick malty tea. It has this thickness to it, but it's not as viscous. It's sweet. It has a big note of blackcurrant. You get a bit of raspberry on it. It's a very nice tea, and this is exactly why I like this. It has all the hallmarks of a great Ceylon tea, and what these guys are doing down in Ceciliyan, credit to them. They're getting great leaf, they're manufacturing it really well, the factory is fantastic, and even their own fields are immaculately kept, you know, and it's not a surprise at all. Mr. Pani Dias, who actually owns the tea factory, is an ex high-grown tea planter. His father was as well, and the estate is being looked after beautifully. New Vithanakande, on the other hand, why did I want to take some OP1 away from the estate? Well, it just has something different to the FF. It's a little bit thicker, and that's what I'm expecting from the cup. If we taste this, it's slightly thicker than what you get here. A bit more jammy, much more like maple syrup. It doesn't coat your palate as much as this, but it still packs a punch. You get other notes from it. Here where you get raspberry, this is much more jammy, much more blueberry, much more thicker in some ways. These two teas are a great representation of what great low-grown tea is all about. If you are looking at Ceylon tea and you want to try good low-grown teas, when we get New Vithanakande back in stock, please try that. Once we get the Ceciliyan Orange Pekoe one, give this one a go. They're two fantastic examples of well-maintained low country teas that really are a credit to what Ceylon tea is. You know, they're both family run. They're being kept to amazing standards, and I wish them all the luck in the world. And you know, we for one at PMD will certainly be pushing their products once we can get some Ceciliyan stock in, and also once we can get some New Vithanakande stock in. That's all I've got for you today. I'll be shooting an episode tomorrow. What are we going to talk about tomorrow, babe? She doesn't even know. She's just the camera lady. I'm in the doghouse for that one. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about handmade teas. I've got another low-grown tea for you. So we're going to be talking about that. In the meantime, keep well, enjoy Easter, stay in wherever you are. Don't go out. Don't go for a walk if you're in the UK because the sun is out. I would like to go for a walk. I'd like to spend time outside, but it's not really going to happen. Someone's coming to my window. It looks like a pizza guy. We had pizza at home today, homemade. Do some home cooking. Follow some of my friends, Chef Matt Hill, Chef Ben Hellier, and also the Backstreet Boy chef, Josh Dawson. Not that he's actually cooking anything and putting it on his Instagram, but follow him anyway. Keep well. Have a great Easter, everyone.